What would you do if you lost everything after retirement and had to go back to work at 58 years old? Marcus Holloway thought he had escaped the rat race forever. A retired millionaire living the dream in Arizona, luxury homes, golf courses, expensive watches, and millions in the bank. But one phone call destroyed it all. Forced back into the corporate world he once ruled, Marcus discovers a shocking conspiracy involving billion-dollar fraud, betrayal from someone he trusted most, and a secret plan to make him the fall guy. But the biggest shock wasn't losing his money. It was discovering who he really was without it. This story will change the way you see success, retirement, and money forever. If you love this story, please like, comment, and subscribe to Story That Matter. Marcus Holloway had spent the last 7 years believing he would never wear another company badge again. At 58, he lived in a quiet, gated community outside Scottsdale, Arizona, where mornings smelled like desert rain and expensive coffee. His days followed a comfortable rhythm: golf twice a week, bourbon at sunset, occasional trips to Napa with his girlfriend Denise, and long afternoons pretending to read history books while dozing in leather recliners. He had earned it. 30 years in corporate logistics had made him wealthy beyond what the younger version of himself could have imagined. He started in warehouse operations in Detroit at 23, climbed through middle management, survived 3 mergers, and eventually sold his transportation software company for $42 million. After taxes and investments, he still had enough money to live comfortably for 2 lifetimes. Or so he thought. The call came on a Tuesday morning. "Mr. Holloway?" the voice asked. "Yes. This is Janet Pierce from Franklin National Holdings. We've been attempting to reach you regarding your investment portfolio." Marcus leaned back slowly. "I already have advisors. This concerns your commercial real estate fund exposure." He frowned. "What exposure?" There was a pause. "The Crescent equity collapse, sir." The blood drained from his face. 3 weeks later, Marcus sat across from his financial advisor in a glass office overlooking Camelback Mountain while hearing words he never imagined would apply to him. Liquidity crisis. Frozen assets. Over-leveraged positions. Market contagion. By the end of the meeting, one truth remained. He wasn't broke, but he was no longer retired. The luxurious life he maintained at home, memberships, travel, investments, Denise's spending habits was draining cash faster than expected. Worse, a significant portion of his wealth was locked in litigation surrounding the collapsed real estate fund. "You need income," his advisor said carefully. Marcus laughed bitterly. At 58, the advisor didn't smile. Temporarily. That word haunted him. Temporarily. 2 months later, Marcus Holloway stood in front of a mirror wearing a navy blazer and staring at his own reflection like it belonged to another man. The wrinkles around his eyes looked deeper now. His confidence felt thinner. His silver hair, once distinguished, suddenly seemed old. He adjusted his tie and muttered, "This is ridiculous." Denise leaned against the bedroom doorway. "You could just sell the lake house." "And then what?" "We downsize." Marcus turned sharply. "I didn't spend 30 years building my life to start downsizing." Denise folded her arms. "Then go to work." The way she said it irritated him. Not because she was wrong. Because she sounded detached. Like his struggle was inconvenient. 3 weeks later, Marcus accepted a consulting position with Titan Distribution Systems, a massive logistics company headquartered in downtown Phoenix. The irony wasn't lost on him. At 58 years old, after building and selling his own company, he was now reporting to executives young enough to be his children. His first day felt humiliating. The receptionist smiled too brightly. "You're the new contractor?" "Contractor. Not executive. Not the founder. Not the owner. Contractor." Marcus nodded stiffly. Inside the elevator, he stood beside 3 employees discussing TikTok trends and energy drinks. One glanced at him. "Nice watch." Marcus looked down at his Rolex. "Thanks. Vintage. Vintage. Jesus." On the 22nd floor, he was introduced to his department manager. "Ethan Cole. I am 34 years old. Harvard MBA. Vice President of Operational Innovation." Marcus immediately disliked him. Ethan wore white sneakers with a tailored suit and spoke with the calm confidence of someone who'd never struggled to pay rent. "Marcus, glad to have you on board." Marcus shook his hand. "Appreciate the opportunity. You've got an incredible experience. Honestly, the team's excited." Marcus noticed the word team repeated often throughout the day. Team lunch. Team culture. Team synergy. Corporate nonsense. Still, he endured it. Because he needed the money. The office itself felt alien. Open floor plans. Standing desks. Meditation rooms. Young employees wearing hoodies while discussing million-dollar contracts. Nobody seemed intimidated by authority anymore. That shocked him most. Back in his day, executives commanded fear. Here, interns interrupted managers mid-sentence. By the second week, Marcus settled into a reluctant routine. He analyzed shipping inefficiencies, reviewed warehouse metrics, and quietly fixed problems no one else seemed experienced enough to notice. And people noticed. Especially one person. A young operations analyst named Sofia Ramirez. 32. Sharp. Observant. Relentlessly hardworking. Unlike others, she didn't treat Marcus like outdated furniture. She respected him. One evening, around 7:30 p.m., Marcus noticed Sophia still working while most employees had gone home. "You're here late," he said. She looked up from dual monitors. "So are you." He smirked slightly. "Fair point." She hesitated. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure. How did companies survive before automation?" Marcus laughed. "That's your question? I'm serious." He pulled a chair beside her desk. "For starters, people actually talk to each other." She grinned. "Sounds terrifying." For the first time in months, Marcus genuinely laughed. Over the following weeks, an unlikely friendship formed. Sophia admired Marcus's instincts. Marcus admired Sophia's intelligence. One night during drinks after work, she asked him, "Do you miss being rich?" Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Who says I'm not?" She gave him a look. "You work 70 hours a week voluntarily." Something happened. He stared into his whiskey. "A bad investment." "How bad?" "Bad enough to remind me money disappears faster than people think." Sophia nodded slowly. "My dad lost everything in 2008. Marcus glanced at her. "What happened?" "He killed himself." The words hit hard. "I'm sorry." He thought money was identity. Marcus went quiet after that. Because somewhere deep down, he knew she wasn't just talking about her father. 3 months into the job, Marcus began noticing strange inconsistencies. Financial reports didn't align with shipping data. Inventory numbers looked manipulated. Warehouses reported volumes impossible to physically process. At first, he assumed incompetence. Then he saw something worse. Fraud. Massive fraud. Late one evening, Marcus reviewed logistics records from a Nevada distribution center when his stomach tightened. Numbers were duplicated across separate regions. Invoices repeated. Freight charges inflated. He dug deeper. The discrepancies totaled millions. The next morning, Marcus approached Ethan. "You got a minute?" Ethan looked up from his laptop. "Sure." Marcus closed the office door. "There's accounting manipulation happening." Ethan's expression didn't change. "What kind?" Marcus slid documents across the desk. "These numbers are fake." Ethan reviewed them silently, then leaned back. "You're sure?" "Positive." A long pause followed. Then Ethan sighed. "Damn." Marcus expected urgency. Panic. Instead, Ethan looked tired. "You already knew?" Marcus said quietly. Ethan rubbed his jaw. "It's complicated." "No. Fraud isn't complicated." "You think I don't know that?" Marcus stared at him. "You're involved." Ethan stood abruptly. "Careful." Marcus rose too. "You brought me in because you needed an old guy to clean this up quietly." "That's not true." "Then explain." Ethan looked toward the office windows overlooking downtown Phoenix. Finally, he spoke softly. "The board's been inflating earnings for 3 years." Marcus felt ice crawl through his chest. "How much?" "Enough that if this becomes public, Titan collapses." Marcus stepped back slowly. "What the hell kind of company is this?" "The kind Wall Street rewards." Over the next hour, Ethan revealed everything. Executives manipulated operational forecasts to maintain stock prices. Banks extended credit based on falsified performance. Investors poured billions into expansion built on lies. And now the system was cracking. Marcus sat silently after hearing it all, then asked the question haunting him most. "Why tell me?" Ethan looked exhausted. "Because I think they're going to make you the fall guy." Marcus stared at him. "What? You're older. Contract employee. Former executive. Easy narrative." Marcus's pulse thundered. "You son of a... I'm trying to help you. By involving me. I didn't know how bad it was when you got hired." Marcus stormed out furious. But that night, he couldn't sleep. He sat alone on his patio while desert wind swept across the darkness. At 2 a.m., Sophia called him. "You okay? How'd you know something's wrong?" You didn't insult anyone today. He chuckled weakly, then told her everything. There was silence. Finally, she said, "You need proof." "I already have proof." "No. You need proof that protects you." The next 2 weeks became a dangerous game. Marcus secretly copied records. Sophia traced internal communications. Ethan quietly fed them information while pretending loyalty to senior leadership. Then came the shock Marcus never saw coming. The CEO behind the fraud was someone he knew. Richard Vail, his former business partner from 20 years earlier. The same man who once toasted champagne with him after closing million-dollar deals. The same man who attended Marcus's retirement party. Marcus felt physically sick when he saw the internal emails. Richard had orchestrated everything. And worse, Richard had personally recommended hiring Marcus. Not to help the company, to bury him with it. Marcus drove home, trembling with rage. When Denise saw him enter, she frowned. "You look awful. I've been set up." She barely looked up from her tablet. "For what?" He explained rapidly. "Fraud. Corporate manipulation. Potential criminal exposure." Denise listened quietly, then asked one question. "How bad is this for us financially?" Marcus stared at her. "For us. Yes." He then realized something painful. She wasn't worried about him. She was worried about lifestyle. The silence between them stretched painfully. Finally, Marcus said quietly, "Do you even care what happens to me?" Denise looked uncomfortable. "That's not fair." "It's exactly fair." 3 days later, she left. No screaming. No dramatic goodbye. Just packed luggage and a short note. "I didn't sign up to struggle again." Marcus read the sentence 5 times, then laughed bitterly. 40 years of chasing wealth. And somehow he'd ended up alone anyway. But strangely, he also felt lighter. The investigation exploded publicly 2 weeks later. Federal agents raided Titan headquarters. News helicopters circled downtown Phoenix. Executives were arrested. Stock prices collapsed. Financial networks ran nonstop coverage. Marcus expected destruction. Instead, something unexpected happened. Because of the evidence he provided, prosecutors treated him as a whistleblower, not a suspect. Richard Vail was indicted on multiple federal charges. Ethan resigned and cooperated with investigators. And Sophia. Sophia became the key witness who exposed internal communications. 6 months later, Marcus sat in a modest coffee shop wearing jeans and a gray Henley shirt, looking far different from the polished millionaire he used to be. Sophia joined him carrying 2 coffees. "You're late," he said. "You're old." He smiled. "Fair enough." Outside, rain tapped gently against the windows. Marcus looked calmer now. Simpler. The Rolex was gone. The luxury car was gone. The country club memberships were gone. But something else had disappeared too. The constant fear of losing status. "I got an offer," Sophia said. "Where?" "Chicago. Operations director." "That's huge." She smiled nervously. "You think I should take it?" Marcus leaned back thoughtfully. "You already know the answer." She studied him for a moment. "You've changed." "Yeah. For better." He looked out the window. "You know what shocked me most about going back to work?" "What?" Marcus smiled faintly. "It wasn't the corruption." She waited. "I realized I spent my whole life chasing money, and almost no time figuring out who I was without it." Sophia nodded quietly. Marcus took a slow sip of coffee. At 58 years old, after losing millions, surviving betrayal, and being forced back into the workforce, he finally understood something no amount of success had ever taught him. Retirement hadn't ended his life. It had exposed it. And for the first time in decades, he was finally awake. If you love this story, please like, comment, and subscribe for more story that matters.